I know exactly what it was. I didn't think that's interesting, but I'll tell you exactly what it was.
It's not about what they think. It's about what you think about whether you're really good or not.
They ruled the charts, then fell apart. But whispers say Paul Simon recently did something so shocking it left Art Garfunkel in tears. Was it an apology, a betrayal, or something even deeper? The truth might change how you see them forever. Don't miss out. Subscribe now. For years, Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel seemed inseparable. Two boys from Queens who rose to global fame on the strength of their harmonies. But their friendship wasn't as perfect as their music sounded. The turning point came not with a song, but with a movie. After The Graduate became a cultural phenomenon, the director Mike Nichols invited both Simon and Garfunkel to appear in his next film, Catch-22. They were thrilled at the idea. Imagine being handpicked after such a huge success. But when the script was finalized, Paul Simon's role was cut. Art Garfunkel, however, kept his part. Suddenly, Paul was left on the sidelines while Art stepped into Hollywood. Paul, supportive on the surface, even wrote The Only Living Boy in New York about Garfunkel leaving to film in Mexico. But beneath the support, frustration lingered. It wasn't Artie's fault, yet it marked the start of a divide neither of them could ignore. And this was just the beginning, because what came next would test their friendship in ways neither expected. Long before fame complicated things, Paul and Art had been kids with guitars and big dreams. Growing up in Queens, they bonded over a love of comedy, records, and performing. They even recorded as teenagers under the name Tom and Jerry. For them, music wasn't just a career, it was the glue of their friendship. But as they grew older and entered the folk rock scene of the 1960s, differences began to surface. Paul Simon's gift for songwriting was unmatched. He was constantly crafting melodies and lyrics that carried weight. Garfunkel, with his angelic voice, became the face of those songs. On stage, audiences swooned for Artie's vocals. Offstage, Paul wrestled with the feeling that his own contributions were overlooked. They had known each other since childhood. They were like brothers, but even the closest friendships can strain under the weight of creative differences. By the mid-60s, those small cracks had started to spread. And yet, the music only kept soaring, setting them up for an even harder fall. By the late 1960s, Simon and Garfunkel were unstoppable. The Sound of Silence wasn't just a hit. It became an anthem of a generation after being remixed and re-released. Everywhere you turned, their music was playing, on radios, in films, and in the hearts of millions. Albums like Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Time, Bookends, and finally Bridge Over Troubled Water became landmarks of American music. Their harmonies captured both the unrest and the hope of the times. People connected with their songs on a deeply personal level. But while the world saw perfection inside the studio, things weren't so harmonious. Disagreements over creative direction grew louder. Paul wanted control as the songwriter, but Art's popularity as the voice of the duo gave him his own confidence. Their artistic visions didn't always line up, and that tug of war pulled at their bond. Fans heard harmony. Behind the scenes, silence was growing. And soon the partnership that had given the world timeless songs would face its toughest test. The real fracture came with Garfunkel's decision to pursue acting more seriously. When he accepted his role in Catch-22, it wasn't just another job, it was a signal. To Paul, it felt like Artie was stepping away from the music when they were at the peak of their success. Paul, ever the writer, poured his emotions into his work. He admitted later that he thought to himself, "I didn't need Artie. I could still be the guy who wrote songs and sang them." That thought reflected a painful truth. He was beginning to imagine life without his partner. Bridge Over Troubled Water, their masterpiece, was born during this time of conflict. Ironically, even as the album soared to the top of charts, the men behind it could barely look at each other. During award ceremonies, they accepted trophies side by side, but privately they were already worlds apart. It was clear, their partnership wasn't just strained, it was breaking. When artists split, fans often hope time will heal the rift. For Simon and Garfunkel, time only added layers of bitterness. In 2015, decades after their initial breakup, Garfunkel gave an interview that stunned fans. He called Paul a jerk and even an idiot. These weren't playful jabs. They were sharp words that reopened old wounds. Fans who dreamed of a reunion felt those chances slip away again. Paul's response was quieter, but perhaps more powerful. Years earlier, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001, he had admitted regret. "I hope that someday before we die, we will make peace with each other," he said. "No rush." Imagine hearing your oldest friend publicly insult you while also knowing deep down there's still a longing for reconciliation. That push and pull kept them apart for years, and every attempt to reunite ended with the same result: distance. But life has a way of surprising us. After their breakup, the two occasionally came back together. The most famous moment was the 1981 concert in Central Park, drawing over 500,000 fans. For one night, their harmonies returned, and the world believed maybe old wounds had healed. But soon after, the same disagreements and frustrations resurfaced. Projects would start, only to stall. Reunions were fleeting, silence became the norm. For decades, it seemed like Simon and Garfunkel were destined to be remembered as a duo who made history, but who could never escape their differences. Like two magnets, they would pull together briefly, only to push apart again. It left fans asking, would they ever find peace? Or was this the legacy? Beautiful music paired with a broken friendship. Little did anyone know, the answer would come when no one was expecting it. Fast forward to 2024. The reunion didn't come from managers or record labels, it came from family. Paul Simon's ex-wife Peggy happened to move into the same building where Art Garfunkel lived. Their son Harper bumped into Garfunkel in the hallways. From there, the idea of reconnecting wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. It was Harper who suggested lunch. After so many years of distance, the two childhood friends found themselves sitting across from each other once more. No stage, no cameras, no audience. Just Paul and Art, face to face, with decades of unspoken pain between them. What happened at that table wasn't just a meeting, it was the beginning of something no fan thought they'd ever see again. At lunch, Garfunkel broke the silence with a simple question. What happened? Why haven't we seen each other? Paul reminded him of a past interview, words Artie had spoken that cut deeper than he ever realized. For years, Simon carried that hurt silently. Hearing it again across the table, Garfunkel suddenly understood the weight of his actions. He admitted something painful. That part of him had wanted to hurt Paul, to shake up the image the world had of their duo. Saying it out loud hit him harder than he expected. And in that moment, the floodgates opened. Tears fell, not from anger, but from the release of years of guilt and regret. Paul, too, softened. Instead of holding on to bitterness, he offered honesty, and then forgiveness. What followed were hugs, real, raw, and long overdue. For two men who had known each other since they were children, it was like rediscovering something lost but never forgotten. Both men are now in their 80s. Time is no longer limitless. Paul has spoken about struggling with hearing issues, forcing him to step back from long tours. Garfunkel, meanwhile, has battled vocal cord problems, leaving his singing voice uncertain. These challenges are reminders that their legendary careers are closer to their end than their beginning. For them, the reconciliation wasn't just about music, it was about life. About realizing you don't always get endless chances to fix what's broken. Fans felt the weight of it too. If Simon and Garfunkel could finally put decades of conflict behind them, maybe there's hope for all of us to mend the friendships we once thought were gone for good. And yet, the story doesn't end here. Even if they had never spoken again, their music would still live on. Songs like Mrs. Robinson, Homeward Bound, and The Sound of Silence are woven into American culture. Bridge Over Troubled Water has become almost a hymn, sung in times of joy and sorrow alike. Their music is proof that even in the middle of conflict, beauty can emerge. Paul's lyrics, paired with Artie's soaring vocals, created something timeless. Generations who weren't even born when the duo split still connect with their songs today. That's the mark of a true legacy, music that outlives not only its creators but also their struggles. And yet, what if there was one more chapter to write? After their emotional lunch, whispers began to spread. Could Simon and Garfunkel reunite one last time? Art himself has hinted at the possibility. He said he'd love to perform again, maybe in a charity event or a big television special. His son, Art Jr., has echoed the sentiment, believing it could happen if the timing is right. Paul, too, has spoken with respect about his old friend, applauding Garfunkel's talent even after everything they've been through. Fans are buzzing. Could there be a surprise performance? Maybe even new material? The door isn't closed, and as long as they're talking, there's always a chance. For Simon and Garfunkel, hope has returned. One of the most revealing parts of their reunion came not from music, but from laughter. Garfunkel explained that the real foundation of their friendship wasn't just harmonies or success, it was humor. They loved comedians like Lenny Bruce, Mike Nichols, Elaine May, and Mel Brooks. From the very beginning, they were always laughing, trading jokes, and finding joy in the simplest things. That laughter carried them through their early days, fueled their creativity, and kept them connected even when music pulled them apart. And in their reunion, it was laughter, along with forgiveness, that reminded them who they really were. Not just partners, but lifelong friends. The story of Simon and Garfunkel is more than a tale of music. It's a story of friendship, conflict, regret, and healing. Their songs will forever be part of the soundtrack of our lives. But perhaps their reconciliation is the most powerful chapter yet, showing that it's never too late to make amends. The big question remains, will they reunite for one final project, or is this the closure they needed? That's for them to decide. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Simon and Garfunkel will step on stage together one last time? Or was their tearful reunion the ending we never knew we needed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're ready to dive into another story of legendary music history, check out the next video waiting for you right here.